Hello and welcome to our second podcast with Meg. This time we got you don't like being called your full name, Megan Judge. It's the Ali Brown Coaching Podcast where on every episode I have a different coached athlete with me, and we talk about some juicy stuff.
Juicy.
Pretty much about you. Meg or Mega Leg.
Mega Leg.
It's got like Pokemon name or something. At the track, everyone's like, "Who the fuck is Mega Leg?" Like, it's the angry bitch running around with a face on, because that's what we'll come to that later.
Yes.
Because that's a big thing we're working on. But I guess where we'll start is my first memory of meeting you was seeing you behind the desk at the leisure centre in Worcester, and then we were talking about running, and you were telling me that obviously you run, but you hadn't had the best kind of experience with coaching, and things hadn't really gone that well in the past few years, and you were kind of like, whatever, I'm just running for a bit, but I'm a bit down in the dumps or whatever. That was my kind of first impression. Was that kind of right? Or like, talk us through that bit. So like, what kind of state of mind were you in then? Like, just as we first like met each other.
Yeah, when you start coming to where I work, I just finished off with a coach before. I'm not going to say any coaching names.
You know what? You can say whatever you want. You can say, because I don't mind. You can be as honest as you want. You can not say stuff. It's up to you.
Yeah. So basically, I had this one coach experience. Well, I had two coach experiences before, and I'm basically the first time round, they run me into the ground, and I got injured constantly. And when I left that one, and in the second one, I just went along. I got promoted by a friend. Well, ex-friend was telling me, "Oh, you need to try this person." So I went to that person. So when I tried to be more open in this second coach, the guy who I was working with at the time, he was basically wasn't a very nice person, basically. And when I was basically like, because at the time, obviously, I was dealing with a lot of health conditions as well. So I tried to explain because I obviously suffer from endometriosis and stuff like that. And I tried to...
We'll talk about that a bit later on as well.
So that was a big indicator, and I suffer from it, which we will talk about. But when I explained it to him, he wasn't very understanding, and he run me into the ground again, got injured. I wasn't getting the goals I wanted, and that was it really. And then after I had a couple of months grace from it all, and I was like, and at the time I was just got this general plan off the internet and just following that, thinking that'll be it now. I don't want to deal with any coaches, because I just feel like they're all the same. I thought, you know what, they're all the same. They just run you into the ground or injure you. And Instagram was all that, trying to push you to get a coach. I was like, no, I do not want a coach anymore. I'm just going to do my own thing. And I was just plateauing really badly. And I just thought, this is it. No, I'm not going to get any better. So
it's really funny, because I had a call with someone this week, someone via Instagram, and we got chatting, and then she had a very similar experience. At the minute, she's just following a plan, like a generic plan, because she had a couple coaches before who have also exactly run her into the ground. She said one of them, she actually broke one of her bones because of the amount of training that she was doing, and then had to have like a year of recovery and stuff because of that. And I was like, yeah, that's a shame. I think that's why we got chatting, because she mentioned it in a message. I was like, quite interested to hear more about that experience, because that's quite bad, and anything that I can, like, I just want to learn about it. I mean, like, the way we train, we avoid injury quite well, which because we don't strive to hit certain paces or numbers or volume of running per week. it's all about kind of how are we feeling today. If we're feeling good and we got some mad, we fucking smash it. Like the Monaghetti session, which I hate, like because it's lots of short bursts of faster running, not full pelt, but like 90%, 80 or 90% effort, whatever comes naturally. But you can judge day by day on what's my fast effort today, depending on how you're feeling, rather than you have to meet X mins per mile and push it. So what about the training do you think ran you into the ground?
I think it was the volume of it. Like the one coach was telling me to run probably about 6 days a week or maybe 7, and it was very long days. There was not much recovery, not much easy. Even though I find the easy stuff, I hated it originally because I felt I was being slow. But at the time, looking back, going, actually, I needed that. But at the time, I had to run, I think, all the time at certain paces, and they were quite quick paces. And at the time, it wasn't doing me or my body any good, or my health, really. So there was no respite.
So do you know like where they were getting? So how were they designing that program around you then? So like where did the 7 days a week come from? And do you know anything about how they came to that kind of a decision to give you that much training? Do you have any input on that or?
Well, it wasn't personal. All the plans now have realised later when I left the coaching who I was with, it wasn't personal. I had the same program as many other people. Basically.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I've seen coaching.
Yeah.
Because I've seen coaches on Instagram at the minute or online in general who might have like 50 or 60 clients, but and they don't pay very much. It's like 20 or 30 or 40 pound or something, which is nothing. Like you can't sustain a business model actually coaching people properly charging that much. You're not going to be in business very long. But the but what they do is have a generic plan, like one plan, and they kind of give that to if not all of them, but a good chunk of people, and just go and follow that. But as you say, it's not taking into account who you are because everyone's so different. It doesn't work, does it? In my opinion.
No, like when I talked to this guy who was going to my coach at the time, I basically said at the time it was marathons at the time I was training for. I said, look, I want to break a 53:15, and he obviously must have for me, he just probably randomly got this one program off the internet, gave it me, thinking, oh yeah, it'd be fine, but not realizing the things. Even though I was open about my conditions, he obviously didn't look and done his research, and he just went, here you go, and then didn't understand why I wasn't hitting paces, or I was tired, or I was really poorly at one stage as well. So
yeah, not ideal.
No, and that's what put me off coaching for life then.
So I mean, I don't want to even think about that kind of coaching. Like that's not me. Like I have a small number of people who I coach, and I probably most of you I talk to every day. Some of you don't because it's just not for them. Like they're quite happy that they'll feedback on final surge or whatever, but they don't want to talk to me every day. It's too much because everyone's so different, aren't they? People just like, no, I cannot. I don't even talk to anyone every day. Like I'll just message you once a week or something. But yeah, it's really important to get to like know the person. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable writing out like a week's training for somebody if I didn't know anything about them, or if I didn't like speak to them first and go, so just tell me a bit about you. Like, what do you want? What are you trying to do? And just get the vibes in. So you said that, but they did like know about your health kind of. So if you need to tell them a bit, but yeah, not ideal.
He just got me to do a questionnaire. He didn't even ring. Like I thought, because obviously the guy was based in London, I thought it was a small company. I thought, oh yeah, we'll have a phone call and that. And he goes, oh, don't do that. Fill out this questionnaire. So I filled out the questionnaire, and that was it. Then and I was only with him for. So
yeah, no, but it's not working.
It wasn't working.
So I walk into the leisure centre. I'm like, oh, there's a person over there. Her name's Meg. We chatted for a bit, and then like my kind of thing is I rarely ask to coach people, because then I think it's backwards. It's a backwards way to how I like to do it. I'd rather try and do my job as best as I can, and then do it in a way that other people can see what I'm doing and see what the other athletes are doing and how they're getting on. And then for other people to kind of view that and go, oh yeah, I like that. And I kind of like what they're doing there. They might come to one of the group coach sessions, see how I coach, and then they approach me. So rather than me going, can I coach you? It's normally someone coming up saying, can you coach me? So then they're already sold by that point. Rather than if I go up to someone, I've then got to sell it to them. Like, I shouldn't have to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. I'd rather people be able to just see what I do, then work out for themselves. Is it for me? Is it not for me? And then approach me if it is. Does that make sense? So how did, so from you, the first time you met me to then you asking me about coaching, so what made that decision? What was that decision process like?
I think we just generally got talking, didn't we, really? When you coming in and start using the treadmills and stuff. And I'm a just nosy person.
Who is this fucking giant?
Who's this person coming in? Oh, he's lanky. And then...
Hey, I'm not lanky. I'm swimming. I've got shoulders now. I've been swimming a lot.
Your head almost touched like the roof of the gym.
Yeah.
But no, I remember like got talking and I saw you running, and I think we generally just got talking about running really, and then you were like, oh, I do a bit of swimming as well and all that, and you're like, oh, I do coaching as well. I was like, yeah, and you were like, then I opened up quite straight away. I was like, oh no, coaching never really worked for me. I said, you never really pushed it, which I felt was nice. I think we generally just got talking. And then you were saying about trying to say about the coaching, and I was like, and it's not going to work for me. I've tried before, and I think after a while, after a bit of talking more and more, I was like, I think it kind of just dropped a little bit, going, perhaps I can give it another go. And I think I got to know you more, and then you were honest. That's what I liked. I needed someone to be honest.
I'm an idiot.
That as well, and I. I just needed that honesty as well, and I think after a while, after a month, and then I was saying, I think I am serious about this, and I think it was the Worcester 10K in 2019, and I got talking to Joe. And then you were like, you need to talk to Joe about it and stuff, and then I got talking to Joe a little bit, and then I was when I did okay at the 10K, and you said to me, you've got much more in you, you can do it. I reckon you can smash it. And I think that was it. Then I think I made that decision. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, let's do it. And then
it's like I've got a weird crystal ball where I can see into people's souls and see their potential. I don't know. It's weird sometimes. It's like talking about that kind of thing. Is like, can you actually see someone's potential, or is it just someone's brain just making it up and believing that someone's potential? It's so weird, because I kind of look at someone, I'm like, yeah, they've got potential. I see him train and I talk to it. I think it's a feeling which you can't really explain, but it's also more tangible things that go into that, like their mindset, how they think, watching them move, even just watching their movements and how maybe competent they are, especially in the swimming and stuff. All of it just comes into, it's probably unexplainable. Like, yes, that person's got potential. But no, what did I say to you the other week? I said, Meg, your PBs are shit. And it was in a session, everyone could hear it.
Yeah, you literally just said in front of her, Megs, your PBs are absolutely shit, I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you can go faster. And I was like, don't be stupid. And yeah, I think I've proven myself wrong a fair few times this year. Well, going, okay, I think I believe him now that I actually can do this. But
that's been the biggest thing. So this is what I say this quite a lot. It's like coaching somebody isn't just writing a training plan or writing a session out. It's the whole holistic, bigger picture. It takes you've got to take into account everything: who they are as a person, how their mind works, what stage of development they're at mentally, emotionally, what their family's life is like, what their work life, literally are they sleeping enough, what they're eating, everything. Do they have a poo every morning? Or do they, or do they like, all those health things, and it's kind of, it took us a few years. I can't remember how long ago that was when we started. 2-3 years.
Well, we started in October 2019.
There we go.
There you go.
Let's do some maths. So that's 2023, over 3 years.
I know.
And it's probably taken us the best part of 3 years to do the behind the scenes work mentally to get you to a point where, one, you believe in yourself that you can do better and go faster in a race, and two, to get into that mindset where you turn up to a race and you fucking give it one. Because I remember initially, it was never frustrating on my part, because I just see what is and accept it and then go, right, how can we improve this? Because everyone's so different, and you have to have that kind of mindset as a coach to say, right, this is what we've got, this is the progress we can make, let's do it. And we never look at, we never think, oh, that's really bad, or that's a bit rubbish. And some of the people even say, oh no, I'm a bit crap, whatever. No, don't even think that. You're not. You're just you. You're you. This is what you want to do, and let's make steps to get there. It's as simple as that. There's no negative involved in that. And so it was a case of like getting in that, and pointing at Meg's head, and trying to kind of like help you. It felt like I was trying to help you develop and push you in the right way to be able to then be into a point where you can attack races and actually do a lot better than like you've done before. Because I could see that, like, it was clear as day to me. And it was nice that this year it was like we've started to see the PBs topple down a bit. And then even the race pictures, you've been like looking like an angry motherfucker. Which I'm like, yes, that's what we want. That's what we've been working on. And no one sees that, do they? No one sees that. Everyone just sees the numbers. That's why I don't like using numbers and going on Strava. I hate the comparison side of it. I'm not on there. I encourage everyone to get off it, you're a coach, because it just impedes the progress I'm trying to make with them. But it's been impressive to see that breakthrough this year. From my point of view, because the hard work, that 3 years of hard work, is like, yes, we're starting to see the return of that. Does it feel like that for you, and how was that process for you throughout the 3 years mentally?
I think because I had obviously 2020 was just a write-off anyway, yeah, because obviously with COVID, but we did a lot of work for 2020. And it was, like you said, it wasn't just, I wanted to get PBs there and then. And you were like, no, you have a lot of work to go through. And we worked a lot on my running technique. And I think that was a massive help as well. I could run, but my technique was awful or wasn't very effective and didn't realise at the time. So we focused a lot on that. And we were focusing on trying to, with the track stuff, working on my form and getting up my legs more and stuff. Because I had the long distance shuffle. I was so used to being just shuffling along and stuff like that. So I couldn't even hit paces and stuff like that, I think. And as well, for me, mentally, I have obviously suffered from a lot of mental health. I've always been open about that. And I've developed a lot of anxiety, especially over races, because over the years I kept getting injured, getting ill, and had old coaches going, you know what, you're not going to do well anyway.
That's ridiculous. They were saying that.
Yeah, I've had it all. Every time.
Meg, you're not going to do well, so, you might as well just give up.
and then one of the ones I remember going up to one of the races, that was the final thing on the head. I was like, you know what, I've had enough now. I think it was one of my marathons in 2019.
You told me, do I remember correctly in that you had approached a coach, your coach at the time, and he said, look, when I go to a race, I get really anxious, and I don't know what to do. It's affecting my performance. And the response from the coach was, well, I don't get that.
Literally.
Was that, I remember right?
Yeah.
So how did that make you feel?
Yeah.
What was that?
I literally went up to him going, I really suffer. Can we look at working on my race anxiety? I get really anxious, and when I get anxious, it sets me, sorry to be TMI, it sets me IBS off. I get really fluttery, and I actually burst out crying before races as well and he goes, I don't get that. What you want about? Just man up, basically man up. And I was like,
so many things wrong with that.
And literally, I think it was Manchester 2019. I actually dropped out because I got that stressed and anxiety before the race. I ended up being sick during the race. So I dropped out at mile 9 going, I can't do this. And that was the final draw for me. I think, you know what? I then messaged the guy going, look, I've had enough. I'm leaving. Mm-hmm. So that was it.
Did he take it well?
Well, he didn't even message back.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
He goes, didn't even say, oh, okay.
He left you on red.
Yeah, on red, and that was it. And then I cancelled everything. I was like, you know what? I can't be dealing with it. Because I realised he was toxic. I was like, you know what? No.
So compare that to the last race you just done. Well, pretty much the last race, the half marathon where you got a PB. Mm-hmm. So how did you feel going into that one? And talk us through that.
I felt strong. So I do go to you, it's like, oh my God, I get really fluttery. And you just like, literally, you do give me a bit of tough love, which I need. But sometimes I do need a bit of a kick up the arse.
With my big feet.
With your big feet. Because I do get really fluttery. And sometimes tough love does work with me. And I think like, you were really good and I felt mentally strong. I was nervous because nerves are natural. I think you do.
Yeah.
But my anxiety is a lot better with over races. As well. Like even like local races, I used to get really anxiety, but I'm getting a lot better because I realise I'm going to do my best and I know I've done the work.
So how have you been able to change that, do you think? What's the main thing where you've been able to get a hold of that anxiety and now you can control it and now you can perform in a race?
I think I just, it's really hard because I don't know why suddenly it's not as bad. I reckon it's just because I channel it inside. I'm like, I can show him I'm going to do it. I can do this. And it has been difficult, especially beginning of the year when I was starting to do more races and I was a bit like, gone really like that. And then I realised there's nothing to be not scared about anymore. It's just like, I don't do well. I don't do well at the end of the day. I think it was more pressure by others. I think my anxiety was sky high. But now I'm like, I've learning, I do not give a shit. You know what?
Which is good. Which is what I've tried to kind of get across.
Yeah. I'm like, I turn up, I'm like, if I do well, I do well. If I don't, I don't. I really don't care anymore. You know, at the end of the day, there's plenty more times out there I can go.
Yeah.
But we're not racing as much anymore. So
yeah, we kind of so I think with you were in a rut of pretty much racing most weekends, and racing to you was just going out for a training run or just running. You get the medal. You're at a new place and whatever. So your perception of a race was not what your perception needed to be of a race, where it's this thing where you turn up to and you fucking tear it to bits and you go mental and you go, it's the only time we go 100% of effort. So to get you, it was kind of like we needed a massive cattle prod to get you out of that old routine and thinking, get rid of everything, and then slowly, block by block, step by step, build the new layers of thinking of how to approach those races. So do less of them, build the confidence, be able to control that, not comparing anything with anyone, because that was a big thing. Depending on who was at a race would depend on how more anxious or not you were. So it took like a complete. Imagine you've got like a computer with you want to give it a refresh. You wipe the hard drive and you start again, and you design it up from scratch. That's kind of like, that's what I mean by like the holistic kind of method or whatever, where you can't just you got someone there. You can maybe change a few things with people, but sometimes you've got to like scrap everything and start again, and be like, let's build something strong, and like let's go and tear some shit up. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yes, it does. Yes. Meg never speaks like this. She's like, "Shut up! I'm gonna punch you in the face." So that's pretty good. And what other PBs have you got? You got your 5K, or was it the 10K?
I've done almost close on the 5K. I did my second fastest time this year.
Yeah.
That was the first time in 11 years I've finally done it. 10K, it was the 10K. That's 11 years in waiting as well.
Yeah.
Now I've done a 5 mile one, which I've never done a 5 mile one race before, but I realised, I did all right. And then half marathon. I think last time I done a PB for half marathon was 2018. And then, yeah.
Now we're like, yeah. And I remember when you were like, oh, I'll never be that fast again because of this, that, and that. And there were so many things we had to unpick mentally to prove to yourself that, yes, Meg, you fucking can.
I think I got myself in such a run as well. Like, I thought, that's it now. I've been told by not just coaches, by some in the running community as well. I was like, you're never going to be as good as you was before because I'm getting older and I'm 33. And you're like,
that's not very supportive for people to say.
But I'm not around those people anymore. And so I think it's been nice. Like, yeah, it's nice getting a PB, but I realised, actually, I starting to really enjoy it again. So, yeah.
It's what I kind of try and talk about it a lot and instill in everyone, is that we're not necessarily racing against the other people who enter the race. You're kind of just racing against yourself. And so many people, even because I've got the under 18s triathlon team now as well. Obviously, they're going to, competing with each other because they're kids. They're more like raw than adults are. But it's more building into someone that, as long as you do the best you can on the day, you don't give a fuck what anyone else has done, because if you've done the best you can, you've won. You are a winner, even if you finish last in the race. If you've done your best, you're a winner. I don't care what else happens. If, for example, if I train someone who won that race, who as in came first, but only put in 50% effort, couldn't give a fuck. I would not care. And sometimes that can be that tough love kind of thing, because I've known someone, I'm going back now, well, I didn't coach them, I just knew them, and they were a really good runner. We spent a lot of time together. They would go and win a race. I'd be like, yeah, well, why are you surprised? Of course you're going to win that race, because like your talent is there, but you weren't trying 100%. So what have you got out of it? You might as well not have gone. You might as well just done a training run. Is that me being weird?
No, like I find a lot of people just like, like I did it. I've done it. You've been the past. Like I've just rocked up and just gone, just did this race today because, I needed to do like a half marathon, for instance, and I've got these half marathons there. I might as well just do it, just dot around it. And you're like, you might as well not put effort in, but sometimes it's a bit. That's when I think that's why I went in such a run with races, going, it doesn't matter. I'll just use it as a training run, and that's good enough, really.
Whereas in a race, like we want to get into that kind of do or die mindset.
Want to feel the pain.
We're gonna fucking go for it, because that's what performance is. A lot of people don't understand what performance is. So some of my under 18s, they're like TriStar 2, TriStar 3 level. One of them's going into juniors. Well, I think most people are going to junior level this year. And it's like, to train for performance is a lot different than just training for like, I just want to do it for my health or whatever. And a lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people think you're being really harsh, or, oh, you shouldn't be like that with them, or you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. Sometimes you have to get your point across to them. Like, if you want to perform, this is how you've got to do it. And it can be a bit, for the average person, because it can, maybe it can sound quite harsh from the average person's point of view. But it's like with you, I remember at certain points with you, I was getting pretty not harsh, but quite direct. Because if you were going off on a tangent, say, or having a strop in a session, like I'd be like, "Meg, shut the fuck up and come over here now." Like, you know. but that was needed because you like to get you back on the track.
Oh God.
And although, you know, it might seem negative from a man walking his dog past the bloody track, but he's only seen that one little moment, isn't he? He's not seen the bigger picture.
Ryan actually got a photo of us. I think you were putting me in my spot, and and it was me on my hands on my hips. I was having a right old strop, and then and you were just like, and I think and then Ryan goes, it takes a lot of a person to get you back in a spot and actually get you going, because I normally would just get up. I'm like, right, fuck this, I'm going. And I have done it in a session, and you just got me back out there, and you out there, and I was like stropped, and then you feel better now? I'm like, yeah.
You're right now, Meg.
I'm all right now. But no, yeah, as we all know, I'm a big old drama queen, and I do strop, but yeah, and I realise at the end of the sessions when you do it, yeah, you might be harsh, bit of tough love. Yeah, there was a few times where I have cried, but I know I need it.
It's like,
because it snaps me out of it.
I think the difference is as well, I'm not doing it personally, as in I'm not acting or doing those things based on something emotional that's happening inside me. I'm making those decisions and being harsh based on what I think will get through to you. So it's a very considered thing. Like it's not, I'm not losing my rag and being all moody at you. I'm purposefully saying that things and purposely saying them in that way to get through to you. So if anything, I'd say it's more of a skill than me just going, oh, for fuck's sake, like, because that isn't coaching, that's just being an absolute melon. That's losing your rag and you've lost control. But I think that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
If someone's doing it to you, but you can see they're in control and they're not just flipping off, you kind of like, you can kind of sense that sometimes and be like, okay, there must be a reason. They're not just having a go at me for no reason. Does that make sense? Am I just blabbering on?
No, it does make sense, because there is times when I've been having a really bad few times, and I've said that.
Yeah, and I just leave you to it.
You kind of just leave me be, or I go really quiet, and you kind of go, you carry on running, and then you go to me, you okay? I'm like, yeah, and you know when I will talk when I'm ready. But there is times where you like, actually, no, she needs to snap out of it, and it is just the fact that I was just being a dick that day.
Yeah, I guess it's knowing when. Are you going to explode because it's all building up, which I can normally sense, or are you just being a dick and can I just tear into you and you're right? That's kind of, they're the soft skills. See, this is the kind of stuff that what we were talking about earlier, where like a coach is just giving a generic plan out and just going, do that. I'm going to give that to 10 people, whatever. Do they do this? Do they have any clue how to do that? Do they do it with people? Do they understand that that's part of the coaching process? It's like there's a whole different world to it.
Yeah.
Which I'm trying to learn, and I'm trying to learn all the time. I learn from my coach, pick things up from there, and the community, the community thing. I try to keep up to date with stuff and just going on. But there's so much more to it than just go and do that. Because maybe I'm being cynical. I don't think I am, but I tend to see quite a few pop up on Instagram. Oh, we're coaching now, and they're like in uni or something, and they just kind of would write your training for you, and then they would claim that they can do a better job with you than your current coach or whatever, not knowing anything about you or your coach. oh, we can. Someone approached you for that, didn't they once?
Oh God, I've
And
had
was
a
like,
fair few.
oh, we'll coach you. You're not doing that right. We'll do that. And it's like that's quite naive, I think.
Yeah, I've had a few people that people like coaching come up to me message me on Instagram going, "Oh, are you being coached?" Even though it was blatantly obvious I'm being coached at the time, like with you. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, "Oh, I reckon my way will do you better."
Why?
And that's one word. I was like, "Why?"
Based on what? Because they want your money. That is it.
And stuff like that. And I'm thinking, yeah. And I kind of just tell them to just bugger off now these days. I was like, I'm quite happy. And I've had it as well. Like I've been at a race and they're like, oh, you should be doing this or we should be doing that. And this is that's not long recently as well. They're like, oh, you should be doing this. I'm like, I just look at them and
You can respond, just go, should I?
like,
Like throw it back to them.
yeah, should I do that? No.
Because then they might question their initial question. It's like, oh, have I just made an assumption or butted into something that I don't know the full picture of? It's like, I used to get a little bit annoyed about this kind of stuff, but now I'm just like, whatever, it is what it is. It's never going to change.
You do get people that jump ship. It's like,
oh yeah, of course.
But then they realise the grass is not always greener the other side.
Not always. Some people prefer to do things a certain way, even if it probably not what they need. Like this is how to get better, but they might not want to hear that. They only want to hear what they want to hear, and they still might get better, but maybe not as much. Or I mean, obviously every coach is so different, aren't they? They just do their job so differently. It's not like a set one way to do it. And some people like certain ways and don't like certain. Pretty normal.
And people like you said to me when we first started working together, it wasn't going to be a fast process. I wasn't going to PB within a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It took me a while because we had to basically build up new foundations for me and what my old ways of thinking, what I should be doing. And I believe that if you want to work with a coach, it is going to be a long game. It's going to be, you have to completely trust that person and knowing that you will get there. It might not be straight away. There has been times when I'm like, oh, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. You're like, we'll get there. And I actually believed, and then look at me now. So
yeah, talk a bit into the.
Oh, sorry.
Just in case it cuts out.
Yeah. So basically, it's just it isn't always going to be a short fix. It's going to be a long process. So
yeah, it's we're in an endurance sport. And there are no quick wins. And the ones that do get the quick wins often get injured very quickly because they're overloading. Or it can take years to reach that level where you're somewhere near your potential. And it's bad coaching, in my opinion, to try to get new clients, get new business, by selling them a lie, by going, I'm going to make you quicker in a year. You're going to get this PB, that PB, that PB. Come to me, give me your money. I need to go to this business. No, that doesn't work because you're not going to. You can't do that because that's not going to happen. It might be some weird, like some cases that it might do. I'm not saying 100%, but I prefer to just be honest and say, look, to get better at this kind of sport takes a long time, and you can still get better straight away, but to get anywhere near your potential will be a long time because in endurance sports you just carry on improving for so long if you do the right things. It's like you see professional athletes in their 40s still. How far away is that? That's a long time. And they're better now at that age than they were at, say, 20, because a lot of the more they do it, the more years they do it of good structured training, listen to their bodies, doing everything the right way, it all compounds year after year after year, and they become better. It's not like other sports where it's more explosive, sprinted. Like after you start past a certain age, you kind of naturally decline a little bit because of the nature of the sport. It's a bit different. But no, it's kind of like I'm so honest, and a lot of the time that's meant that they've gone to another coach, or because they didn't like what I said or something. And then other people kind of like, oh yeah, you're being honest. You're not just trying to say anything you can to get my money off me, to coach me. Kind of like that.
I think that's the honesty what kind of kept me like going, really. I think that's what it is. I think the best to be honest.
Yeah, and have those, even if it's difficult conversations, they're really important. Like saying something that people don't want to hear, like and knowing the battles I can't win. Like your trainers, I can't win that battle, so I've just given up because there's no, and whatever, we'll just live with it, you know.
Just live with me.
Yeah, Meg has a different pair of trainers for every hour of the day. Which
we know why.
We'll move on.
We move on now.
Because Meg has anyway. Meg loves her trainers.
Meg loves her trainers. Shoes.
And you were sent them for free, weren't you? You got a lot of free stuff.
I got a lot of free stuff. I was part. Yeah, I can't really say too much, but I was part.
You were part of a team.
I was part of a team, but it's finishing the end of this year, so.
Which to me is a good thing.
Many ways we had this discussion already. I think for me it was my time to go. I've had 4 wonderful years, and I needed to focus on more me again. So
well, it was undoing the mental work that we've been doing,
yes.
Which is kind of like the opposite of what a team should be doing. Like that, it was more commercial based team, wasn't it? To try and promote products to get the business to make more money. That's what it was. It wasn't to help the athlete develop. If anything, being in that environment and having to do all the posting and stuff actually hindered that process. Would you agree with that? Or
yes, I think I've been really lucky. I think this year was more I couldn't keep on top. I couldn't really be me, and like I said, I appreciate what happened, but like I appreciate I was being there, but I found it was just I'm not a full-time influencer. Basically, I work for a living, and I just didn't have time. So,
and social media's use my French, but it's a pretty fucked up place. It's quite toxic. It teaches bad habits. It's like a popularity contest. It's like being back in school, and in many ways, when you're involved in what you were involved in, it's kind of, rather than using social media as a tool for a purpose. So for me, it would be to promote the coaching, promote your successes, to reach a wider audience, to get more people in. So it's a tool. It's a marketing tool for me. But when social media starts controlling you and how you're thinking and all of that, and it is kind of all consuming, it can leave quite a negative impact mentally, I reckon. Did you feel that? Or
well, yeah, I did in many ways. I had a lot of people were messaging me about me being an imposter and
an imposter,
body shaming me as well.
Yeah, I know
so,
about that.
It was a lot of things as well. So I think it was just my time to. Like I said, I've had 4 years. I've been really lucky, but I think it was just time for me to.
It's the next progression in the mental journey, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
So this is the next thing that's going to help the journey we're already on, in turning you into a. I keep saying like, and what is it? What do I say to you? When I want you to go to a race, I want you to turn into
a bitch. Basically, bitch mode.
Bitch mode.
You would say bitch mode.
I want you to be in like an angry motherfucker.
Basically,
bitch,
yes.
And not care about anyone who's there or anything. If anyone tries to ask you a question, be like, I'll talk to you afterwards. Get on me. I even spoke to Ryan, your partner, about this, and he was supportive.
Yeah.
Which was we're on the same, got him on the same page, and it was quite good. And because then that mindset you're in is so important. And people see you and go, oh, I'll go and talk to Meg. And no, they'll just put you out of that mindset because they'll be talking all sorts of crap. They'll be talking about numbers and comparing and stuff. And like, you don't want that when you're at a race. Just leave me alone. Go away.
I think one of the races I went, and they were like, "Oh, you're a little bit antisocial, aren't you?" Before, I think it was before Alton Towers, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, but I just need to focus on what I'm going to be doing." It's like I've been training hard for this. I need to go in my own little bubble. I do. I go really quiet, or I hide behind Ryan. Bless him. People will come up to talk to Ryan, and I tend to like hide behind him, going, don't. Yeah, but. Or I go off and just do my little warm up or something. So, yeah.
Again, that's the difference between performance, trying to get performance, and then just turning up to do a race for, just because you enjoy it or for fun, which both are fine. But if you want performance, you have to approach it a different way. And people they don't see that, do they? They don't like, you've got to stay it's like, when you watch, I know we're talking about like professional sport on telly, they don't talk to anyone. They're silent, they've got headphones on, they fuck off, they do their own warm-ups, they do their own stuff, turn up, they're ready, they go. So, and no one questions that, do they?
No.
But if you're at a race where you want to do well at, where, there's the standard of that race is quite high, and you want to have a real test and just push it, do the same thing that the best do. You can't think, oh, but I'm not the best, so why do you? No, you will get better by doing that approach. By literally, have some massive headphones on, have a sweatband across your head that says "fuck off." Go and do your warm up. Have your angry bitch face on, and then chuck it all to Ryan at the last minute.
Bless him.
Your holder, and then you do not get out of that mindset. You are laser focused. You are ready to go 100%, do the best your body can do, and then when you cross that finish line and you've done it, then you can go, "Oh, hi, how are you? How's your day? Oh, what this last week? What are you doing next week?" Then you can do that. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I'm very sociable after a race. I happily chat to everyone and anyone.
Yeah.
I'm usually bounce up and down in front of people going, "Oh, hello, you're right."
Everyone's
And they're
high.
like, "Oh, God, what's just going on here?" But then...
She's bipolar.
But yeah,
joke about
I
that.
always get a bit nervous. Like, it is the fact I get nervous before a race, and I do tend to go in myself, and that's natural. I want to be like that. I just want to have a few moments before.
So so mentally, what things are you doing that are helping that and helping your approach, not just to racing but to the sport? So so how are we working on it now? What things are we doing which are aiding that process?
I don't just run anymore. I do a lot of swimming. You got me into my swimming again, and do a lot of turbo training. So yes.
So how does that help you?
I think it's just nice. I find cross training has helped me massively. I don't run as many miles as I used to, and I find with the swimming, I'm using different
Muscle groups,
and with the turbo training, I don't know why I like switching off when I do turbo training. It's like just do my little bubble and listen to rubbish and just say, yeah.
So how do you think does that help mentally then, doing the different
It has
things?
helped mentally. I find, like, I know I can't just run every day. Like, I remember when you got me to running like 4 times a week, I had a meltdown. I remember having a meltdown at you.
Well, every day you weren't running, you just text me, "I hate rest days."
I do hate rest days, and I still hate rest days. But now we incorporating a little bit more swimming this year and a bit more the turbo training. And I realised I think we did more turbo training when we went into lockdown, because I struggled with lockdown.
Yeah.
I went from being highly active from a highly active job to doing fuck all. I think that I really struggled, and you understood that, and you were really understanding. So you're like, "Oh, I'm going to get you doing turbo training." And I was like, "Oh, okay then." Because I said I won't like cycling outside because I don't like being on the road on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
So
Same.
So you got me to, and then we stuck with it. And I realised then, I was like, oh, I can actually be, I found it boring at first, I'm a bummer. But then after a while, I actually quite enjoyed the sessions you were setting me. And it was different. I felt I was getting stronger. And I used to do a lot of gym work. I used to be doing like the weightlifting as well and stuff. And I actually don't do any of that anymore. And because I find with the bike, with the cycling and the swimming, that's the strength I need. And I found it's nice not feeling dead and knackered.
That's really interesting. That's a point we can talk about another point. But yeah, when we train for triathlon, the strength work we do is built into the swimming, the cycling, and the running. We do not do extra gym only strength sessions. We haven't got the time for it, and there's actually nothing to say it's going to make us any more competent or faster at the three disciplines. So we build the strength. We do a lot of strength, but it's built into the swim, bike, and the run. So it's often people kind of don't really see it the right way. They just go, "Oh, they do no strength like in the gym." Yeah, we probably do more than you, mate. Like sometimes the whole swim is strength work because we've got those massive pads on.
Oh yeah, those pads.
And the turbo session, we're in the highest gear. On the run, well, we use the treadmill session with the Jan Rahula session. Jan Rahula. And when we use hills, that's adding strength in it.
Yes.
So obviously now, if you're training that way, then you can train every day. If you're just a runner, you can't run every day. And on the other days, you can do different things, but you can't run every day. I guess some people do if they're like a workhorse. I'm not going to get injured, but now you can safely do something every day. And it all came, well, you said recently that I've tried not to kind of, I want you to do what you want to do, right? So, but you've said recently, you said a couple times, I want to do a triathlon. And I've kind of said, do you really? Have a think about it, go bugger off. And then, and in my head, I'm like, if she comes back next week and says the same thing, then we'll talk about it. But a lot of the time, then I don't hear about it. I don't hear you say it again for like a month or two. And then you might go, oh, I want to do triathlon. I says, okay, I'll have a think about it. And then again, I won't hear from you again for another two. So it's like been on the tip of your mind and fizzled out a little bit. But recently you've said, oh, actually, yeah, I want to work up to do a triathlon next year, and Ryan's supporting me. And now I've thought about it and I really want to do it. So now I'm training you as a triathlete, not as a runner. So do you prefer that?
It's taken me a while to I still getting used to the fact I'm running less. I am struggling with the running less bit, but I know I will adjust. I've adjusted now, like with all the running when we first started. I think you realise that I'm adapting, and especially as I've been recently diagnosed with ADHD, it explains a hell of a lot why I strop about changing routines. But I'm adjusting okay, and as well, I realise I am not losing my speed. I think one thing I always said to you, I was worried about I was going to be losing my running speed, and you were like, actually, I reckon you'll do better. And we started incorporating the swimming more, and I'm actually really enjoying it. And it's different training, and that's what I need. I think for me, like a lot of people have asked me recently, oh, why don't you do another marathon next year? And I turned around to you after Manchester. I had COVID 2 weeks before. I turned around. I was like, I do not want to do another marathon just yet. Never say never. I want to do another one. I want to do better my time I've burned. But I was like, you know what? I don't want to just keep doing that whole hamster wheeling. Let's go and try and do another one. And I just like, you know what? I want a challenge. And that's when I said we talked about it. And I said, I just don't want to do just I want to do a triathlon. I do want a challenge, and I can do all three disciplines. So I was like, why not? So yeah.
Again, it was like, because you actually had some of the marathons booked, and I was like, nah, I don't think we should do them. And you didn't fancy doing one of them. You had a few marathons this year booked that you didn't do.
I sold my spot for Snowdon. I was meant to do Snowdonia Marathon, and I turned around to you, and you knew about it. I did say, look, it was from 2020 when it got cancelled.
Yeah.
I have got another one. And when I did Manchester, we were meant to do Stratford, and I dropped down to the half. I turned around going, I don't want to just get around and just get in a shit time again. And you're like, you respected my decision on that. I thought you was going to be angry, and you're like, actually, I respect you more for doing that because it took balls to do it. I was like, you know what? I dropped down. I hope you don't mind. And you're like, no, that's fine. That I actually didn't want you doing it. And then I said, oh, I've got Snowdon. I don't know. I was ifing and erring for a month. And then I turned around to you going, I'm not going to do it. And you were like, fine, what do you want to do? I said, and then I think it was your decision actually. And I just went, we were like, well, I'm going to knock you down. We were going to do 5Ks. And that's how we ended up getting, we knew I need to recover from having long COVID. And because I got asthma now from it. I think you decided, or not you decided, you were like, right, could you trust me? And I went, yes. Right, I want you to do Cheltenham 5K. Let's start from the beginning.
I remember that. I remember that conversation at the track.
Yeah.
Me actually asking you that question.
Yeah, you went, do you trust me? We're going to start off. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And now I've done...
I was like, right, now is the time to get angry bitch mode. And you did really well, and you've done really well since then. It's getting, I think your mindset, your current view of the marathon isn't what we need it to be to do well at it, and I think we need to shelve it for a few years. You could do marathon PBs in your 40s. I mean, it's not a problem. But so I think this change is quite refreshing, and you could do really good at this. You could be really good at this. So yeah, it's nice to. Well, we're working to that race in June next year.
Yeah.
And we'll do some shorter events before it. We'll do a sprint and a standard distance try, and then so our team event is we're going to do the 113 Cotswolds middle distance triathlon in June. So I think there's about 6 or 7 of us have confirmed so far. At the minute, I need to build my own bike out of pieces of wood, but I've entered myself. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But and you're like, and you actually said, yeah, I actually want to do that, and Ryan thinks so. Ryan was supportive as well.
Yeah, Ryan doesn't do tries. He can't swim, but he said he'll be there supporting me all the way.
Well, he can help. He can help us out, can't he? And
yeah, he could be the man bag, the handbag.
The man bag.
Yeah.
Wicked, that's funny. Yeah, so that and you could I don't think you'll get any slower. If anything, you can still get quicker as a runner, but by training as a triathlete, it's a weird thought. One that you probably wouldn't have believed initially when we first met. You'd be like, "No, shut up, Ali." But it's quite. I think it's quite exciting. And the change will do you good, I think. But what do I know? I might be completely wrong. I might just be an absolute pelican. But yeah, by focusing on those shorter races, that was the start of it. Kind of shifting out of another marathon. I don't want to do it. I don't want to. Just can't be bothered. It's like, right, we need a change. Obviously, like with your health as well, marathons are like a long way to run. The training can be a bit much. And the amount of running as well compared to training for a triathlon, even like an Ironman triathlon, you don't run as much as you would if you're training for a marathon. It's kind of like I've got so Julian's doing a full Ironman in Australia on Sunday.
God.
And probably already happened by the time this goes out. But and he was saying for ages, like, I'm doing hardly any. I feel like I'm hardly doing any running compared to what I was doing, what I'm used to. Like, mate, we'll be fine. Just crack on, be okay. And we'll see how he does. But it's been all right in the races he's done leading up to it. His runs have been absolutely bang on. Again, it's like you can think. You have this weird idea in your head of how much running you think you need to be doing. It's like, well, it's kind of like why you would get a coach, isn't it? Because the coach should know how to coach you, and you have to just sometimes just trust them and go, okay, let's just do that and see. But yeah, so I guess we'll just do that, and then you give me such a weird look now. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We'll do that,
We'll do that.
and then I'll just when you've crossed the finish line, give you 5 minutes, and I'll just look at your face, and then I'll know if we're gonna change it again or if we're on a good road.
Well, we have to wait and see, won't we?
Yeah. Yeah, it's either ecstatic or it's fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that again. But yeah, let's talk about endo, because that's a factor in your training.
Many factors, yes.
And one thing I will just say is, like, being from starting the coaching business up and doing it full time, I never thought that I would learn so much about the female specific health. I kind of like, yeah, I know a lot about endo now, and a lot about other female issues, and they're really important, and you need to be able to understand it, and then know how to change the training and listen. And I guess a lot of men maybe wouldn't be that comfortable with this, or kind of know what to do and be like, oh, I can't talk to a woman about their women issues, I need to go. Like, you know, the typical man mindset of, you know, run away. So how has that affected your running and your decisions in like doing a marathon or not doing a marathon and changing it to triathlon? So how does it impact?
Well, first things first, endo, it fucking sucks. Yeah, it sucks. When I really like I have been diagnosed with endo since 16, and I have stage 4, so it's not the easiest to deal with.
So very briefly, what is it? Because some people might not know. What the hell are they talking about?
Endometriosis, I can't pronounce it fully. It's where your blood lining is somewhere else in the body. It should be in the womb. It could be around, not just in the womb, it could be elsewhere. It grows on your organs, and then it will cause a lot of pain, internal bleeding, and all. It can cause, obviously, bad periods, irregular periods, heavy causing bleeding. IBS is one of them. Irritable bowel syndrome, just in case if no one knows what IBS means. It can cause you chronic fatigue and anemia and just pain and just constant bloating. So I have stage 4, which is very severe. So which is constant with me. I had an operation last year which failed, unfortunately. Mine at the moment is currently outside of my womb. It's all over both my ovaries. It's on my stomach, in my bowel, outside my bowel, in my bladder, around my bladder, and in my and other parts of my muscles as well. So when I have flare-ups, it really knocks me for six. It can cause me to be really sick. It can come on all of a sudden, or it can get caused by different food groups, as I discovered later on down the line. And it can cause I can not have periods, or can have periods, or I bleed really heavy. I think there's a time where I was swimming with you and I suddenly come on and I had to leg it.
I remember that.
And you were like, oh, what's up? And then I was like, and it isn't just like, oh, I've just come on. It's literally,
like run.
Literally, I just bleed through, and I just like I literally didn't say goodbye. I just let you know later on. I was like, and then, but no, it's one of those ones I had to adjust my training around it. A lot of people people don't talk about it. It's a bit of a taboo subject about periods and stuff.
Well, let's talk about it then.
Let's talk about it. And but it can cause, with me, I can be off. It can cause me to be off work if I have a bad flare up, and it can cause me to miss training sessions. But
you don't miss that many, and you deal with it really well.
Since obviously, for a few days before Christmas last year, and I remember telling you this, they told me the operation failed. Because I've had my operation, my third one, and it was just a bit of a blow because that's when they diagnosed me with syphilitic ovaries as well, so I'll get cysts as well. They had to remove a lot of cysts. And there is another one, but I can't pronounce it, sorry, which is why I can't have kids. But they said to me, it failed. You can either have another operation, the only thing we can't give you is a hysterectomy, which is I've been pushing for because of my age. And I was like, fine, what can I do? And they said, you might have to go gluten and dairy free. And it was a massive blow, really. I was a bit like, I like my cake, I liked eating anything gluten. So
You can still make cake though.
no, it's really good.
Yeah.
But I was, at the time, I thought it was the end of the world. But since changing my diet, because last year I kept missing a few sessions and stuff like that because I was suffering again, or my IBS is set off. Because the endos caused me a lot of damage in my bowel, basically. And they said, you need to change your diet, and your stomach is going to help your stomach as well. I was like, oh, it's not going to work. I proved myself wrong. Proved myself right, sorry. No, I don't.
Prove yourself wrong.
Yeah, that was right. Prove myself wrong. By changing my diet, I thought, is not going to help. But it has helped. And I found I've been really lucky this year to be able to train still. Even when I do have my flares, because I say to you, like, been a bit struggled, but I had to just either...
Even if you just go easy for that session, or, I mean, you haven't, like, I don't feel like you've missed, like, more than a day's training because of it. You might have just knocked it down to easy, which is still perfect.
Yeah.
It's not a problem whatsoever.
I think there's been days when I said to you, like, I really struggle. I've really suffered from my tummy today. I don't think I can run. And you'd like, right, just go on the bike. Just go on the bike. Just do an easy session on the bike. And that way, I think for my mind, it kept me, I've done something, but it wasn't straining my body out. And I think that was a massive factor for why I was struggling with my running races as well, because of my IBS kept getting set off, and then then it flares me endo off. So before a race, I've had races where I turn up, I've done really good training, and then I had to scrap it completely, and then I've gone to you going, something's wrong.
So is it so? What do you do now to best prepare then for races?
Basically, we found I'm a bit of a stickler for routine, as Ryan discovers. So we found a lot of gluten-free, dairy-free. I used to love pasta bakes and stuff like that when I was eating normal gluten stuff. We actually found gluten-free, dairy-free pasta bakes I can have. So I make sure a couple of days I eat that, or lasagna and stuff. You can still eat a lot of stuff. It's just has to be a friendly version for me.
A friendly version.
And it's why I have I don't take I take natural painkillers. So I take turmeric, like these natural tablets, and these other tablets, magnesium, which helps with bloating and stuff. And I drink a bit like this lemon and ginger tea is quite good to help with inflammation.
Yeah, we make our own, don't we?
Yes. Yes, I discovered that when I had that cold. I don't think Phoebe appreciated the smell of the house after a while, but we got there.
It's lovely. My coach Susie hates it, but I absolutely love it.
Especially when I made it and it was like pureed and I still drank it. And I was like, this is good. And mine's like, and you were like, use 2 litres of water. I think I used a cup.
Yeah. You put all the ingredients in, like the big ingredient, but only half the amount of water, so it was so strong.
Vampires wouldn't have loved me that day, but
yeah.
no.
Basically, it's a tea that's got lemon, ginger, and garlic in it. You boil it all up and then you sieve it all out, and there's your tea.
But yeah, I made a very pureed version of it. So yeah, I still drank it.
So you use what you eat in your fuel to like aid going into those races, so you don't have not to have like an IBS flare up and then everything just goes. pun intended, to ship.
Yeah. So I have gluten-free porridge. We find stuff like I can have, like it's, when you go to like an Airbnb or like a hotel, I have these little dairy-free, gluten-free porridge pots, so I know I had to take them with me. And I got like a dairy-free chocolate spread because I can't just have plain porridge, I'm afraid. It's a bit boring. So I put that on so I know. And then might have to take my own milk, but we always try and adjust it so we know I've got food. Take my own snacks after, because some races don't always, nothing against the races. I know the run through events are actually really good. I find they actually cater for dodgy people like me, so I don't have to worry about. But make sure, so I got fuel after my race fuel. I don't really take gels that often, only for the longer races. I only have specific gels that I know are okay for me. Because
I'll have to get you trying this stuff from gel.
Yeah.
We'll read it afterwards, see if it'll work for you, because I've only just noticed it was gel mix.
Yeah, because there's some bits I can't have. I noticed some gels, because obviously you're having to do a lot of reading and looking at it. Like the gels I'm with now, I've always have been for the last few years, because I know I can.
If you know it works and it works, then don't change it. Yes,
exactly, because we all discovered that. I tried a different gel. It was a long time ago. I tried a new gel at a race, and it wasn't pretty.
I can imagine. So day to day, it seems like you've got a pretty good hold on it, and it's not really affecting the training, which is quite impressive, because other people struggle with it and haven't got to that point yet, or they don't know how to deal with it, and they haven't got those measures in place, like knowing, right, if that happens, I know what I need to eat. I know I can't touch this, and this is my routine when I'm going to a race. And I know if I get a flare up, I can either have a rest day or sit on the bike and turn my legs for a bit. Like, it seems like you've got a good hang of it. What was it? How much difficult was it in the earlier days, and how did you find those solutions? Because I guess some people who might be listening, like, are still at that initial stage.
I think many ways. I think when I got diagnosed at 16, when I had flare-ups or when it was really bad, I would stop and just, like, I know it can be sore, I know it's painful, and I want to curl up with a hot water bottle. There is days where I just want to curl up with a hot water bottle, and I will. I try and, like, when my really bad flares before my last stop, like, I try and at least go out for a walk. They did say when I went for my pre-op, and the lady went to me saying, for considering you have got endo, they were surprised how active I was. And I was like, no, because it's best to keep active. I know it is hard, like when you're in a lot of pain and stuff like that, you have to keep active, because it's just, I found it helped me. And I try not let it stop me. So yeah, I think that's what it is. It's best to keep active, even my sore days, I just try and keep going. But yeah.
So when everything's like trying to tell you to go back to bed with a hot water bottle, you're like, no, I still need to do just something, even if it's something like a walk or anything, just move, basically.
When I do have some flare-ups, I do end up being poorly. I will stop, because I have done it where I kept pushing, and I ended up being really, really ill.
Yeah.
And I think because it's been, I'm 33 now. I've dealt with this condition since I was young, and I've had many operations, which has helped, hasn't helped. The last one failed. I think for me, even just getting out and just walking, just being active, just has helped me. And I try not to take painkillers as much, but I try and have natural remedies to make sure, like my lemon and ginger tea, turmeric tablets. I eat like a lot of stuff that's got natural inflammation stuff to help with all the bloating and stuff. As long I have that, I should be okay.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. It's quite impressive. You've been able to do that.
Don't get me wrong. There's some days like I do feel like, I can't believe you're stage 4. And I was like, yeah, but I feel like an imposter sometimes, because I am running around like a mental lunatic. But
most people don't exercise in or they might just do one half an hour a week or something. So
Mhm.
for them, having stage 4 for them might mean disaster.
Mm.
But you keep active, you're doing the right kind of things. So for you, it's much more, the effects of it are much more reduced. But for someone else who wasn't in your as fit as you are, this might be a different story. Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think a lot of people I just don't want. Yeah, a lot of
Do you
people
think
just.
do you think not just with endo, but with many things, like maybe just succumb to it
Mm,
and don't kind of think, okay, this is happening and it's shit, but I'm sure there is things that I can do to help, things in my control that I can do to practically help, rather than just submit and go, fuck this, I'm just going to bed. And sometimes that can not always the best decision, is it?
not always. It's like no, it's not the best decision. I find I seize up more. I find I'm in pain more, and I have a hot water. Like there's some people that laughed at me because I was swim teaching the once, and I had the hot water bottle strapped to me, literally because I was having a flare up. But I was like, I still gotta go in, and I wasn't sick. It was just I was sore. It just needed just a bit of heat, and it's best to keep active.
I guess it's a balance, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
fine balance of when to carry on doing stuff, but just taking hot water bottle in with you, or even to decide to go on an easy run, and then to know when actually I shouldn't be doing anything right now. I need to just rest. I guess it's just always like, as long as you don't get it massively wrong, and it's kind of the balance is there. I reckon
It's as far as out there, there's not a lot of much research. It's only recently there's more research about it. The more a lot of people have suffered with it, and they all that
yeah.
we got told. Like my first doctor said to me, my first endo doctor, "Oh, just lie in bed, just chill."
You know what?
And
If it
then I'm like, I don't want to just lie in bed and chill. I just want to be out and about. And I find like when I was more active, not more active, I know my limits now, but I find if I'm just walking around a little bit, just going down the shop or something, or doing it just generally, just making sure I'm not overexerting myself. Just as long as I'm doing something, it's still painful, but it eases a bit.
yeah.
And it is healthy for your body to keep moving, even if it's like a gentle yoga stretch. Just lying in a nice child's pose for a little bit, it eases the pain. It's just your best. A lot much more out there now going just lying there, just doing nothing. It's not always going to help.
Yeah, yeah. And I was going to say, yeah, you said there's not much research on it. Sadly, it's very wrong. But if this was a male problem, there would be a shit ton of research on it. But because it's a female problem, there's no research on it.
No,
One of the issues I have.
it's just the fact, like with work as well. It's only last 2 years I've been open about my condition at work. Because I used to be really embarrassed to talk about it. And they're like, oh, so now I'm more open about it and they understand more now. And you just need to talk about it.
Yeah, and often educate people don't realize what it actually and what impact it has. So yeah, they might know, you've got endo, but can you still come into work? Or can you still do this, still do that? It's like, did you not know? I this is what I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people realise that I know some of my friends at work is like, oh, I know so-and-so's got that. So they understand, which is nice to have. And it's, yeah, like like I said, a lot of coaches out there, going back to my lovely old coach, he just like, it's just a bad period, just get over yourself. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's one of those. It needs to be more open, more
Yeah, definitely.
definitely.
But you're on the right track. You're doing the right things, and I guess next thing we'll talk about is something that I started with. So was it just before COVID or during COVID? I was lying in a bad way. I went to my GP and was like, I've always had issues with depression. I was like, I feel a bit rubbish. And I was like, sometimes I run down the dual carriageway here, and I was like, I wonder what it would like if I just stepped onto it. And I'm like, that's not really right. So I I went to my GP. I've had the same one for a long time, and he's brilliant. We go in there, we're swearing at each other, not at each other, but just in conversation. And he's just we talk like we're normal people, not like I'm GP, you are person, take this, go away. It's like, all right, let's get to it. What's the problem? What's the issue? Whatever. And it's like, right, if you go and get a therapist and talk to one, and he said, like, if you go on the NHS, you'll be waiting forever and whatever. So I had to go and find one, found a therapist, and then I was like, right, let's go and do it. And yeah, it was like, I think this is a huge step to kind of carry on improving and developing emotionally as a person and mentally as a person. Like, to have therapy, and there's this taboo or this kind of like, oh, it's something you must be mental or something. Why you whatever? Not really, because therapists, to do their job, have to have a therapist. They have therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors have therapists. My friend, who I also coach, Ned, he lives in Dublin. He's studying to be a psychotherapist, or I don't know what the word is. It's something to do with therapy, and he has to have therapy as part of his course, because that's how the more you have to be going through that process into be improving yourself in order to then be in a position to, give the help you're giving to somebody. And the other thing I want to say is, a lot of people look at therapy as if someone must have therapy if they've got a problem. No, therapy shouldn't come because of a problem. Therapy is healthy to have anyway, even if you've got no real issues. Therapy is a really good way to have a safe space to talk about what's going on in your head, whatever it is, totally non-judgmental, and you can talk through it, you can unpick things, you can learn about yourself more, you can then become a better person as a result of it. So that's one thing. There's this stigma attached to it that therapy is for crazy people, but it's not. So therapy helped me a lot. Like I don't think I cried. Like I cried a lot. But in order for me to do my job, I need to be improving myself. Who am I as a coach to be telling you lot what to do and how to think? Not telling, but coaching you through. And all these personal things, if I'm not working on myself and improving myself, so there's a very big naivety to it, and like brings a tear to my eye, even like talking about kind of a deep subject, but it's important. And if you're not developing yourself, and then you can't. I see it as like, I can't be seen to be in this position of trust and as a position of coach if I'm neglecting my own self. So I'm like, right, I know what that process is now. I've done it. I know the value of it. Even if there was nothing wrong with it, if I could have, if money wasn't an issue, I'd have one every week, just to be able to cry. No, just like it's like the man off Fight Club when he's crying into that man's chest, God. And a release. Just to be able to because you can't talk to friends honestly without getting some kind of weird response back, biased response, or being told what to do about something, or being judged in a certain way, because you have to. It doesn't work, and it's can be very frustrating. But when you've got a therapist, you don't get any of that. It's like, okay. I think they only have to tell the police if there's something that you tell them that is going to danger somebody. Like, I feel like I want to kill somebody, like, or whatever. Then it's safeguarding, or But so from that, like, I then, so for me, there's no stigma anymore. therapy is it should be a normal everyday thing, and it's very healthy, and I'd recommend it for anyone to have to kind of improve as a person. And even because a lot of people have the barriers up and not really sure. So like as part of our journey already, I mentioned it to you, and I thought, well, it might help you. Like, being able to go to a race and not crumble a little bit because all these people are here that you didn't really want to see, and you've got to go and perform, and now you don't want to do it. And obviously more personal issues you don't have to talk. But so well, I think I mentioned it to you like a couple of years ago. I think that might help, and you were like really scared of it.
I had therapy before. Yes. So I had therapy before as part of my eating disorder journey. So I've had help before, when I was in a unit and stuff like that, and it didn't work. And I think because I was a stubborn cal at the time, and I was still in a bad place. So when I came out of it, I was like, oh, I'm fine. So when you mentioned it again, and I did reach out for this one specific place, and I did refer myself, I never heard anything back. And it kind of for me, it was like, that's it now. Now, like I said about the whole coaching before, that's it. It's never going to work for me, blah, blah, blah. So when you mentioned it and you said, oh, you can self-refer yourself. And I remember going to Ryan, I was like, I think I'm going to try it again. And he goes, because I'm on antidepressant pills. I've always had issues with my mental health anyway. I was like, I will do it again. So in 2021, I finally referred myself and finally after a year, when they, obviously with COVID, that didn't help. So COVID's put a lot of things in hold, didn't it? So when I finally heard from them, they referred me to this place, and then I had to wait again, but that was fine because I knew I was on the waiting list. So I'm now in my 5th week of therapy, and it has been a hard journey because I noticed the last few years I've been going downhill. I was using running as a way of getting myself back out of it all. But then when I started it, I was really scared. But I'm glad I started it now. So yeah, and hopefully I'll get back to the old me who I used to be. So, or better me.
Well, you don't want to be the old you. You want
No.
to be you want to develop past that. You're a you you've never been before.
Yeah, so I've started it again because there's been a few times this year, and obviously a few things happened last year. I know I just needed that extra bit of help. So
what are you valuing from that process of having therapy?
Basically, we was having this chat earlier. More like standing up for myself. Mm-hmm. Stop being a doormat is probably one, and stop portraying not a fake version, because I don't feel like I'm fake, but I portray a person who hasn't got any issues. I'm happy all the time behind a fake smile, I think what it is, and really just be honest and honest with myself. I need to put me first, and even though it sounds selfish, and I know it's not.
It's not. I
just need to put how I feel forward, because I've always took a step back for others and for many other people, and I find, you know what, I'm starting to think, and what my therapist is saying, you are a lovely person. You just think of other people first. I've always have done.
As you know, I worked for the National Trust before I quit that and just did coaching on its own. And I went to there was a national training day for all of me and my colleagues all around the country, and we had a trainer there who I used to like. We had really, really good trainers. They were really good, and we had a presentation. It was, for example, Death by PowerPoint. Forget that. We were throwing stress balls across the room to each other. That's how good it was. And one of the quotes that came from this charity, National Trust, it said on the screen, "You can't help anyone if you're dead." And we were like, that's gold. I didn't expect it from a nice heritage charity, but so it was kind of like, first it was like, oh yes, love it. That is exactly. So I say that a lot. So you've got to make sure you're all right first, and because yes, there are other people who might be in dire positions or can't do kind of that, but you are not worth anything to them if you're not sorted yourself. So you've kind of got to put the blinkers on a bit. Yes, I can see that blowing up over there, but I need to get myself sorted first before I even look at it.
Yeah.
And that's hard when you're not used to that, isn't it? I can relate to that a bit as well. So I have to be more selfish, put myself first as well. So it's kind of like I'm having to. Is it the same for you, where you're having to embrace being selfish and be like, so for me, feeling really, really selfish, in reality, I'm not really being selfish, but I just feel it because I'm not used to it. Is that the same for you?
Yeah. I think I've been so used to, basically, as I called it, being the yes person. So when I say no, it was like, oh. And they look at you like, I was like, what? I'm like, I just feel like a bad person for not helping them out. And Ryan's always like, you're not a bad person.
No.
You need to say no, because otherwise, if you keep saying yes, I'll just end up being poorly again, because I run myself ragged again. Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's Meg is now hiding behind the mic.
It's my friend.
But no, it's really good. It's really important. Like, this is helping, regardless of this being recorded, this is helping us. Like, as a coach athlete and individuals. And then all of us, and then there's a camera over there and mics where people can hopefully find some value in this as well. And which I think they will. I'm pretty sure. I think this has been really good. And yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I'm not too sure.
Because I think we can wrap it. We've been an hour and a half already.
Really?
Yeah.
Blimey.
So what I will say is, if you did like this, if you're still here, probably about one person maybe is.
Probably.
One person. That one person, to help support this, what we're doing, what I'm trying to do with this podcast, please, if you wouldn't mind, like it on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, leave a comment, because it helps the algorithm, it pushes it. And if you're listening on Spotify, if you can leave a rating, it's literally 2 clicks. You click one of the stars and then you just write something or don't and click submit. It'll help a lot, because the idea of this is we want to reach a wider audience, people that don't know that we exist, to try and kind of get, just reach more people online and share what we're doing, how we're doing it. Yeah, that's the kind of aim, really. So thank you for listening, and maybe a couple of weeks we'll do the next one. Yeah, cool.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.